I'm not going to start by giving you a definition of what a differential equation is. We'll get to that soon enough, but there are many kinds of differential equations, and a general definition would be confusing at this point. We're going to start with this statement. A rule which specifies the slope at every point is a differential equation. Now, this doesn't tell you a general rule for what differential equations are, but tells you that if you do have a rule that specifies the slope at every point, it is a differential equation. And that's our starting point for the course. Now, here we have a y versus t plane, a region of the y versus t plane. And we have a bunch of points marked in red, and we've got some numbers next to those points. And don't worry about the little lines through the points. They aren't all that accurate in the first place, but let's look at the numbers. Okay, the number 0.45 goes with this point, 0.65 with this point, 0.85 with this point, and so on for all 16 or 20 labeled points. Now, the 0.45 is going to be taken as the slope at this point. You don't know yet what to do with the slope. Of course, if you've had an introduction to differential equations, you probably do. But assuming that you don't, all we need to know right now at the beginning is that 0.45 corresponds to a slope. So I've sketched a little line here with a slope of 0.45. And at this point, a slope of 0.65, 0.85, 1.05, 1.25, and so forth. I haven't said where these numbers came from. They come from a rule, fairly simple rule. I'll tell you later what the rule is. Right now, there's just some rule that tells you what the slope is at each one of these points. Now, that rule will tell you the slope at any point. If I want the slope at the point 2.037 pi over 3, so that might be here, we could put this into my rule and get the slope. The values of the slope are calculated by some function f of ty. Okay, we know that if you have the y versus t plane, a function f of ty is just a rule for determining the value of the function if you know the coordinates of the point, if you know the t coordinate and the y coordinate. So the slopes are given by some function f of ty, and of course we know in general that a slope to some curve of some function y could be written as y prime or dy dx, and I've got dy dx. I should really have dy dt here, because t is our variable, not x, and I've made the same mistake down here, so let's change that x to a t. It's pretty sloppy, but we'll try to live with it. Okay, so our differential equation says that the slope is given by f of ty. So y prime being dy dt, the slope is y prime. The rule for calculating the slope is f of ty, so the differential equation is y prime equals f of ty. So any equation like this is a differential equation. There are many other types of differential equations, many other rules for differential equations. But this is one kind of a rule for a differential equation, and we're going to apply this rule for some simple functions and just get a feel for what we do when we do try to solve a differential equation.